Taking our 10th spot is Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo's reputation has always been an up and down trend in Hollywood, however nothing beats his reported dispute with Titanic director James Cameron. His fame supposedly got to his head as a young star, so naturally there are a few stories floating around Hollywood about his attitude. One of those was James's, where he recounted Leo's Titanic audition in a GC magazine interview. To summarize, James recalled the event of Leo refusing to read Jack's part during a screen test. At the time, Leonardo was still being considered for the part, as opposed to Kate Winslet, who was already confirmed. But when Leo joined the initial meeting, he assumed it was regrouping for him to be introduced to Kate. So when James explained they were actually doing an on-camera read, Leonardo reportedly questioned him, eventually telling the Canadian filmmaker he doesn't read. In response, James detailed shaking Leo's hand and thanking him for dropping by, which supposedly surprised the actor enough to eventually agree, as James told Leo his whole life was going into the film and he was not messing around. James described Leo's sour behavior about the whole ordeal until he called action, which prompted Leo to jump into work mode. Finalizing, he turned into Jack, Kate lit up and they played the scene. Dark clouds opened up and a ray of sun came down. I'm like, alright, he's the guy. Before we jump into number 9, hit the like button if you know any of the stars on today's list. Taking our 9th spot is Lea Michele. I heavily debated throwing her in the 10th spot because I don't know how one actor can piss off just about every single person she's worked with. But of course, she's Lea Michele, so why wouldn't she? Notoriously known for being a quote on-set diva, Lea has apparently been a nightmare for co-stars like Kate Hudson. Not to mention the majority of her former Glee cast stepped forward to reveal her past behavior of racial microaggressions and demeaning attitude. Now Lea is heavily accused of pushing Stranger Things actress Sadie Sink during their joint Tonight Show appearance. On the Jimmy Fallon hosted series, netizens were not impressed with the star when she greeted her way onto stage and supposedly wedged herself between Sadie and Tonight Show singer Tariq Trotter, staying there even after introductions were complete. For the game segment, the stars participated in charades, with Tariq and Lea on one team and Sadie and Jimmy on the other. Now to me, this whole situation seems stretched, but according to fans, Lea tapped Sadie's arm in a dismissive way and forced her out of her center position so she could be there instead. Despite it being unclear where Lea was meant to stand in the first place, viewers were quick to throw Lea under the bus with wild accusations. TikTok users claimed Lea was mean and belittling, all while they praised Sadie for the way she apparently handled the situation. Internet users joined forces to further criticize Lea, though many also believe the hype is one big reach stemming from the internet's continuous love of hating celebrities. Taking our 8th spot is Ryan Reynolds. TJ Miller, a co-star of Ryan's for the first 2 Deadpool movies, had a lot to say about the actor when he spoke about their time working together. TJ played Weasel in the films and broke down his experience on Adam Carolla's show, detailing how Ryan was horrifically mean to him while playing the part of the R-rated superhero. Quote, "but to me, as if I'm Weasel." After chalking the events up to Ryan's ego, TJ also admitted he would never subject himself to that environment again by working with Ryan, and found Ryan's vendetta against him odd. TJ further praised Ryan's comedic skills and wished him no ill will, but proceeded to call him insecure and expressed how the fame he received from the first Deadpool changed things. However, even so, Ryan's also been accused of SA in 2017, detained in 2018 for an allegedly fake Amtrak train threat eventually dismissed by prosecutors, and more 2018 claims of on-set bullying of his Silicon Valley co-star Alice Wetterlund. Ryan denied the allegations, of course, but he has such a history of being called out at this point, so how many are actually lies? Taking our 7th spot is Katherine Heigl. There was a time when Katherine's career took a massive tumble because of her 2009 statements on David Letterman's late night show about Grey's Anatomy's allegedly brutal working conditions. At the time, she had informed the host of some pretty wild stuff, like how they supposedly had her work 17 hours on her first set day. Katherine's words wound her career greatly, and she faced massive backlash, being permanently labeled as difficult. However, with the exposing 2021 International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees protest, which shed light on the conditions of thousands of behind-the-scene workers in the industry and the unhealthy treatment set against them, Katherine revisited her former comments regarding the absurdity actors and crews were forced into by production. The actress explained how she was once publicly shamed for speaking up about the exact same thing and called ungrateful while being forced to step back from her career. This led to insecurities she still struggles with now from comments made over a decade ago. During During a 2021 Washington Post interview specifically, Katherine discussed how the industry turned on her and claimed her reputation was an exaggerated response because she merely spoke her truth. Taking our 6th spot is Alec Baldwin. The eldest Baldwin brother is apparently a loose cannon. In 2013, he was dismissed by MSNBC following reports of him shouting homophobic insults at a videographer. Not to mention, with his unfortunate ongoing court case, he could prove to be rather difficult to work with in general, or not at all. Michael Shannon recently stepped forward to blame Rust's budget for the fatal on-set incident that finds Alec now charged with involuntary manslaughter. The actor furiously expressed his disappointment in low production budgets when questioned about the death of Rust's former cinematographer, Halyna Hutchins. Halyna's life was tragically taken in October 2021 after a prop weapon held by Alec discharged a real shot, injuring director Joel Souza before wounding Halyna. A week ago, it was announced that Alec and Rust's armor, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, would be both convicted of the same indictment, while first assistant director David Halls agreed to a guilty plea for negligent use of a deadly weapon. Taking our 5th spot is Patrick Dempsey. Grey's expert, journalist, and author Lynette Rice has revealed her insider perspective on Patrick's leave from the show. Having interviewed him at the time, Lynette noted how Patrick seemed over the show entirely and simply wanted to quit to race his collection of valuably rare cars. Lynette also came to the discovery that Patrick grew miserable to be around and work with on set, edging closer to his leave, specifically because he didn't want to be there anymore. Lynette commented on the irony of Katherine Heigl exiting the show with a difficult reputation, despite the fact that it was probably Patrick who had everyone walking around on eggshells for him. Lynette boiled this down to the reality of displayed sexism and the double standards that women have to face and deal with within their Hollywood careers. Taking our 4th spot is Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth is apparently known for being frosty and was reportedly quite cold to Scarlett Johansson during Iron Man 2. Now, she's been revealed as one of the Hollywood stars who helped to Leslie's Andrea Riseborough receive an Oscar nomination after it only generated $27,000 in global box office sales. Andrea's nomination has been dubbed a Hail Mary, as her campaigning efforts to snag a spot on the list started with her drawing her own funds to raise spotlights on the indie film. Word quickly spread to all her powerful Hollywood friends, and the ball officially dropped. For Gwyneth's part, she hosted a movie screening mere days before the voting period began. The result of this power play caused reactions to range from massive backlash to loads of praise. It's reported that Andrea was shocked by her Academy Award attention too. However, this event sparked major controversy among netizens as they noticed Andrea's inclusion might have shoved Viola Davis and Danielle Deadwyler out of the running for their respective films. Despite Hollywood seeing a massive reckoning after the trending hashtag #OscarsSoWhite over the years, none of 2023's Best Actress nominees are black. Taking our 3rd spot is Christian Bale. This Welsh actor is known for being an extreme perfectionist. Like, how could anyone ever forget his famous Terminator Salvation rant? However, even if his reputation may precede him, Christian has stated how he approaches every movie like it's the last film he'll ever make. The pale blue-eyed star didn't believe he'd land any other roles after Batman and thought it would be the only one he was remembered for. Christian detailed taking every role humbly and approaching them like their final, leaving no room for arrogance no matter how big or small the part may be. Additionally, the star noted the potential of being typecast and damaging his career as what's kept him humble, even despite being tempted by the prospect at first. Aside from all his years of work, Christian admitted he would never offer his co-stars advice because he's still learning himself. Specifically, when he discussed working alongside Harry Melling for Pale Blue Eyes most recently, the actor referred to himself as an asshole if he ever tried to sit Harry down to teach him a thing or two about acting, further pushing that Harry knew exactly what he needed to do all on his own. Taking our 2nd spot is Bruce Willis. The die-hard actor has been described as grumpy and unapproachable on set. His cop-out director even once defined their working relationship as soul-crushing. The actor has since retired from the industry after his battle with his brain condition aphasia was revealed. At 67 years old, Bruce was forced to withdraw from acting earlier in the year as he started his fight against the illness that caused his speaking abilities to deteriorate. Back in November, Bruce was reunited with his former co-star John Travolta for Paradise City. This marked his first major collaboration with John since their time time working together on 1994's Pulp Fiction, as well as the last movie Bruce finished before his loved ones dropped their March announcement of his retirement. Bruce's blended family released a joint statement informing the world that Bruce was stepping away from the career that has meant so much to him. The statement touched on his experience with health issues and how they were impacting his cognitive abilities. Following the public reveals, fans were quick to flock to social media to shower Bruce with their love. And taking our first spot is Dustin Hoffman. Two-time Oscar winner Dustin is an alleged perfectionist who demands creative control and is overall difficult. In a resurfaced interview from 1982's Tootsie, Dustin's epiphany regarding the subjection of women's beauty standards has now gone viral on TikTok. The then 45-year-old Dustin starred as an actor named Michael, who struggled to land work until he dressed a woman. As the soap drama lead, now 85-year-old Dustin explained how his views changed as he prepared for the role by visiting the studio and running makeup tests so he could walk New York's streets as a convincingly dressed female. It was this discovery that brought Dustin to tears during the interview when he recalled a later conversation he had with his wife. Dustin recounted how adamant he was to be the star of Tootsie because of the deeper meaning he realized it held. While many praised Dustin on TikTok for this, others demeaned him with too late comments and referred to the situation as sad that he had to portray a woman in order to understand their situation. However, another TikToker wrote, "For those saying don't praise the bare minimum, we're praising the growth. And not doing so makes people not want to grow at all. Make growth pleasant."
Coming in at number 10 is Mel Gibson. For a time, Mel Gibson was one of the biggest, most talented actors and directors in Hollywood. Whether it was Mad Max, Lethal Weapon, or Braveheart, he was known for giving wild and unique performances that connected to audiences in a way that a lot of people just hadn't experienced before. But then, it went very much downhill. Following a 2006 arrest for driving under the influence, which was pretty commonplace for the actor during that time of his life, Gibson went on to make a pretty bad anti-Semitic rant accusing the Jewish people of instigating the world wars. And on top of that, fellow actress Winona Ryder, who describes herself as Jewish, accused Gibson of calling her an oven dodger at a 1996 party. But in 2010, it somehow got even worse. Gibson was recorded during a phone call with a Russian singer and songwriter just going off using racial slurs and saying the most obscene stuff you have ever heard. All of that led to him being blacklisted for almost a decade. As an actor, he may never ever get much more work in Hollywood, but surprisingly, he has found a way back in as a director and producer. Coming in at number 9 is Katherine Heigl. Having won an Emmy for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Grey's Anatomy in 2007, actress Katherine Heigl was expected to be nominated for the award in 2008, but instead, and interestingly, Heigl pulled out. On the topic, she said, quote, "I did not feel that I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention." But in this world, that decision was understandably interpreted as criticism of Grey's Anatomy creator, head writer, and executive producer Shonda Rhimes. Then, from that moment on, her on-set behavior became a large talking point in the gossip world. She was apparently known as someone that was hard to work with. When speaking to David Letterman in 2009 about the new season of Grey's Anatomy, she said, quote, "Our first day back was Wednesday and it was, I'm going to keep saying this because I hope it embarrasses them, a 17-hour day, which I think is cruel and mean." And yeah, a 17-hour day is long as hell, but according to journalist Ken Levine, quote, "What she neglected to add was this. This cruel shooting schedule was only to accommodate her and her needs. The producers graciously shuffled things around so she could go off and do promotion for her new film. Also, with union rules, the producers had to pay a ton of overtime and penalties to make this happen. The thanks they get is Katherine Heigl going on national television hoping to embarrass them." Now, Katherine took a hit, but she was still getting roles in various films until, in March 2010, Heigl reportedly didn't show up for work on Grey's Anatomy. Shonda Rhimes reached an agreement to release her immediately from her contract, and just like that, she never returned to the show. There was also a public statement she made about enjoying working on Judd Apatow's Knocked Up, but she really disliked the portrayal of the female characters in the film, which, I mean, yeah, they weren't portrayed in the greatest light. Basically, she spoke her mind on quite a few topics, and that got her labeled as ungrateful, rude, and ultimately gave her a reputation that still hasn't quite recovered. And at number 8, Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash had a rise up to fame when she appeared in Clueless and the Fox News show Outnumbered, but this fame lasted a rather short amount of time. Stacey very openly voted for Barack Obama back in 2008, but sometime between then and 2012, she made a pretty big shift and began to be very outspoken about her conservative views. Now obviously there's nothing wrong with being a conservative, but when you're in the public view and you start doing outrageous things like calling for the end of Black History Month, people are not going to be happy about it. And that thing in particular got her fired from Fox News. But to keep things going even more, in 2016 she made controversial comments about transgender people, putting her in even more of a bad position. And at number 7 is Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron is hardly known as an actor anymore, and more known these days for his radical Christian views, but Kirk was a child star appearing in film and TV, with his most notable appearances being as Mike Seaver in the sitcom show Growing Pains for 7 seasons. But now, like I said, Kirk basically speaks all day long about his beliefs toward religion, homosexuals, and more, which has led him to essentially become blacklisted from Hollywood. Whether he is doing interviews on TV shows or social media, Cameron cannot seem to keep his religious views and beliefs out of the discussion. And while it's fine to have any view you want, you gotta pick and choose your battles wisely, especially in Hollywood. And at number 6, Roseanne Barr. Actress and comedian Roseanne Barr, loved for her self-titled show opposite John Goodman, has been a controversial supporter of Donald Trump's presidency, which doesn't mean she's blacklisted, but the 11 words she tweeted in May 2018 that managed to reference President Obama senior advisor Valerie Jarrett, the science fiction film Planet of the Apes, and the Muslim Brotherhood, that one did manage to get her blacklisted. Even though she deleted the tweet and apologized within hours, ABC killed its most popular show of 2018, her show, and Barr is not likely to be offered much more going forward. Number 5. Monique. This Hollywood blacklisting is actually an incredibly interesting one. Instead of doing something overtly offensive or committing a crime or anything like that, comedian and actor Monique instead refused to play the Hollywood game. Monique is a comedian and actor who first gained attention for her stand-up shows and for her role in The Parkers, which ran from 1999 to 2004. But back in 2009, she won an Academy Award for Supporting Actress in Lee Daniels' film Precious. The problem came when she had a less than stellar Oscar campaign for that award, meaning she refused to do the promotional work and play the Hollywood political game, which left Hollywood with a bad taste, and her movie career as an actor dried right up. But she still kills it as a comedian, so she's got that. Number 4, Charlie Sheen. I don't even really need to explain this one. Most people remember 2011 for Charlie Sheen's huge public meltdown. At one time, he was one of the highest paid TV actors on the planet, but now Sheen is mostly remembered for #winning, Tiger Blood, and the large amount of extremely odd interviews he took part in while clearly not in a #winning state of mind. He lost his job on 2.5 Men, which was paying him almost $2 million per episode, and he was seen as a man who had clearly lost his marbles after decades of substance abuse. Now looking back on it now, he is filled with regret and has certainly grown from it all, but after those events, it's highly unlikely his career will ever bounce back. Coming in at number 3, Armie Hammer. Hammer appeared on Arrested Development in 2005, Veronica Mars in 2006, and Desperate Housewives in 2007, and on 4 episodes of Gossip Girl in 2009. He got his big break in late 2009 playing the Winklevoss twins in The Social Network. Now after starring in The Lone Ranger in 2013, which fell completely flat, Armie appeared in more well-received films like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. in 2015 and Nocturnal Animals in 2016. And then he broke ground starring opposite Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name in 2017, and he was consistently finding work. But in July of 2020, Armie and his wife Elizabeth Chambers filed for divorce after his wife learned of multiple incidents where the actor had been unfaithful. And then, in January 2021, an Instagram account called House of Effie started sharing messages seemingly from Hammer, which, while unverified, detailed all kinds of bizarre and not safe for work fantasies. I can't go into direct detail for risk of being demonetized, but let's just say that Armie may be a vampire, or he might be a zombie. Nom nom nom, that's all I'm gonna say. You'll figure it out. Obviously, various gossip pages took this information and ran with it, which then prompted more stories from multiple different women with their own experiences of Hammer and the similar screenshots of messages to prove it. Since the controversy and the online backlash that followed, Hammer dropped out of the movie Shotgun Wedding and the limited series The Offer. And then The Hollywood Reporter broke the news that in February of 2021, the actor was also dropped by his agency. But that's not all. In March of 2021, a 24-year-old woman named Effie claimed that Hammer had physically mistreated her during a 4-year-long relationship that the two had. This brought his career even further into crumbles. He then checked into a rehabilitation center in the Cayman Islands in May of 2021, leaving in December of that year, and while he has appeared in Death on the Nile in February, he was scrubbed from marketing materials and no other projects are currently planned, with very few likely to come up soon. Coming in at number 2, it's Ezra Miller. Oh man, where do we even start here? Okay. Ezra Miller had been having a really good, steady climb up the ladder of Hollywood, killing it in Perks of Being a Wallflower, getting a large role in the Fantastic Beasts series, and all set to star in The Flash as the lead superhero. But then, Miller seemed to go off the deep end. Now, they have recently issued a public apology saying that they are suffering from complex mental health issues, but there have been a string of incidents that will likely ultimately mean that we may not see much from the actor going forward. Starting in 2020, a video appeared of Miller appearing to choke a woman outside a bar in Iceland. Apparently, this stemmed from a joke that quickly and obviously got out of hand. Then, in March of 2022, Miller was arrested and charged after Miller got agitated by people singing karaoke at a bar in Hawaii, which led to the actor yelling obscenities, getting physical, and lunging at a woman. Then, in that same month, also in Hawaii, Miller got a restraining order filed against him by a couple after they burst into their home, threatened the male victim, and then stole some of their belongings, including social security cards, a wallet, passport, license, and bank cards. The next month, in April, the actor was charged and arrested after they got upset and threw a chair that struck a 26-year-old woman in the forehead. Then, we fast forward to June, when Miller is accused of manipulating, controlling, and quote, grooming a young woman named Dakota Iron Eyes from the age of 12 years old, which was followed that same month by another parent who sought legal action after Miller, quote, menaced their family and acted inappropriately with their child. Then it went to a whole nother level in August, when Ezra was accused of burglary and a woman and her children that the actor was housing were served an emergency care order by police. So, as you can probably tell, the whole thing is a lot, even by Hollywood standards. Who knows what the future will hold for Ezra Miller, but I doubt it will be Hollywood success for a hot minute at least. And in at the number 1 top spot, it's Amber Heard. The Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial from 2022 was a whole event. It was streamed online for millions of people to tune in, and I don't know how you guys feel about that. I think that's kind of weird, but whatever. Even those that didn't tune in heard about it and learned of this long tale of accusations and defamation and physical altercation. I just made a rhyme. In light of the extremely public trial which Heard lost, her career is taking a massive hit. But this all really started when the pair ended their marriage in 2016 and Heard filed a restraining order against Depp, and the whole thing was majorly compounded with a Washington Post op-ed where Heard described herself as a, quote, public figure representing domestic abuse. And while she didn't name Johnny Depp specifically, it was the only option, and it affected his career tremendously, with the actor being dropped from his appearance in Pirates of the Caribbean 6. The back and forth between these two has actually been going on for a long time, with multiple trials throughout the years, but the one in 2022 was the one that seemingly was the end of things. And it's a bit of a win-lose for both Amber and Johnny in different ways. Of these two actors, Johnny Depp has obviously a majorly more successful career, and with that he has a much larger group of supporters, which, compounded by his win, means he will likely make a comeback even if it won't be on the scale of past projects. Because of everything aired out for the world to see, they will both take a hit, like I said, but because of her lack of an impactful career so far, and the way the public perceived her during the trial, Amber Heard is likely to have a very little footing in Hollywood for a long time.